Hello. In this session, I want to talk about Professor Michael Porter's theory of competition in an industry. The thing about Porter's theory is that it stood the test of time. He first published his theory in the Havard Business Review back in 1979. Yet despite more recent criticisms, you'll find his theories still taught in almost every business school in every country around the world. This is core MBA material. Back then, Porter was obsessed about how some industries proved far more profitable and successful than others. He deduced this cannot be down to the prevailing economic theories of supply and demand, but far more likely to be linked to the relative levels of competition that an organisation faces. His theory suggested there were 5 dynamic elements that create competition, and he referred to these as forces. The first and most obvious force related to the extent of competitive rivalry that exists between the market players. This isn't just based on how many competitors there are in a market, but more to do with the extent to which they will compete with each other for a customer's business. Now, you take the car industry, for example. Everywhere you go on social media and streaming services, there are always adverts for new cars, particularly electric cars. This indicates the level of sales and marketing activity of this industry is high, therefore reflecting a high level of rivalry between different manufacturers. But this isn't the only competitive pressure at play. Porter's second force related to the potential threat of competitors entering into the market. He referred to these as new entrants, and of course, if they were able to enter into the market, this would only increase the competition. Consider, for example, what Elon Musk achieved with a Tesla. Initially, Tesla production volumes were relatively small, and it took them nearly 7 years to break even in that market. But nowadays, you could hardly call Tesla a threat of new entry. Tesla's become a mainstream player. Porter's third competitive force is the threat of substitutes. Now, a substitute is an alternative product or service that fulfills exactly the same function as the industry's main product. So, for example, car ownership might not be the practical if you were based in an urban area. You might prefer to travel by public transport. Companies like Uber have cashed in on this, and they provide a credible substitute to buying a car. Porter's fourth and fifth competitive forces related to the supply chain and the negotiation bargaining powers that buyers and suppliers have over the market. Take, for example, the buyers of cars. Unless you're buying a large volume, as a customer you have very little bargaining power over a global brand like Toyota or Ford. Similarly, suppliers to the car manufacturing industry only hold limited bargaining power. This is why Toyota has a strategy of partly owning its first-tier suppliers. This strategy reduces the ability of those suppliers to apply any competitive pressure. And so there you have it. The 5 forces of competition provide a breakdown of the levels of competition that a market faces. And when that competition is high, correspondingly, the prices and profit levels end up being lower. But where there is less competition, prices and profit levels tend to be higher. So just to recap, the 5 forces comprise market rivalry, the threat of new entrants, the threat of substitutes, and the relative bargaining strengths of buyers and suppliers to that industry in question. And as we said at the beginning, this is core MBA material that's taught in every business school around the world. It's also essential for content for anyone studying their CIPS qualifications. You might find that CIPS repeats this model in several of its study modules, but this just highlights the value and the application of that model to us in the procurement profession. Now, you can read more about this model and also Porter's other theories in our books, the Category Management Handbook and the Procurement Models Handbook. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this summary useful.